What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the show, Live 510, and it's Thursday, which means that we are back for another awesome sports talking about stuff show as well. The words are all there; they're just mixed up. So, breaking news: Donovan got left off of the United States World Cup soccer roster for some players that arguably shouldn't be there. I mean, I think that he should be ahead of them. But yes, as I said, this is breaking news right now. It just happened. So let's start with these two. Henry, what do you think about this news here?
Um, well, I'm a little surprised, but then at the same time, I'm not because they do have a abundance amount of forwards, and you can't bring like a whole team of forwards. And at the same time, I have a feeling that Jurgen Klinsmann has thought that Donovan wasn't in good enough shape to be able to kind of like maintain uh, like a starting spot. But I mean, he probably could deserved at least maybe a bench off the bench spot, especially over most likely over Josie Altidore. But they see more potential in Josie Altidore's growth than they do on Donovan's history. So
Josie
um,
Altidore's growth. Okay.
that's what they've been saying is that they think that he has more potential to offer. So
For
they
sure.
think, which I mean, physically he does have more to offer but he just has never brought it around. I mean, he doesn't have a good enough touch on the ball consistently, and as well as um, having a strong upper body. If you're just the one forward, which a lot of times they mostly have him when he's in the game, just as the lone forward, doesn't really work too well because he's um, he's fighting against more than one defender. So I see that as another thing, and it's unfortunate for Donovan. I mean, to go, everybody thought that maybe he would be the one to go riding off into his last final World Cup appearance, and that's not going to happen for him. So I feel that we gotta have to give confidence to the national team for the players who have been picked already and stick with them and back them, even though that a few players like Donovan did not make the team that we were hoping for. So we still got to kind of continue and um, back up what Jurgen Klinsmann has set up for the tournament. So and the players that he decided on. So all in all, it's unfortunate, and I think going forward that we got to just continue the sports team and know that the coach that has something that I think he has seen that out of all the players, since he does have the previous history of being in the World Cup and winning one, and as well as coaching Germany to semifinals in the World Cup. So he does have that on his resume. So yeah, that's pretty much what I think.
All right, Dawkins, what do you think, man?
I mean, I think it's a little bit personal between the coach and Donovan. I don't think the coach liked the fact that Donovan, took a sabbatical last year and was off for the whole season or whatever for at least the national team. Another thing, I feel like um, people talking about potential of the forwards that are on the team and stuff like that, and I do get that to a certain extent, but this is the World Cup. And it's like you don't have time to worry about somebody's potential because this this event only comes around 4 years. You know what I mean? It only comes around 4 years. So to me, I would want the best players out there. Now, if Donovan, is better than somebody who might be young and might be a up and comer, then you give Donovan that spot. You know what I mean? And again, if this would have been Donovan's last hurrah, then I say give him a spot just off of that. He's done enough to earn a spot on the team throughout his career. Yes, I am talking about a Lifetime Achievement Award. You give that to Donovan for this World Cup. Because in my honest opinion, he deserves it. Not only is he the all-time leading goal scorer in, U.S. National soccer history, he's been on the team since he was 18 years old. You know what I mean? In my honest opinion, I feel like you can give somebody like that a chance to be on the team, especially when I look at the players. I don't know a lot of the players, but I'm pretty sure that he's better than some of the players on the list. So to talk about potential when you're talking about the World Cup, to me, it doesn't belong because this event only comes around 4 years, and you should have him out there, in my opinion.
All right. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't know this news until recently when Dawkins brought it to my attention. And when I first heard it, I was shocked. I was like, are you serious? Like, why would somebody do such a stupid move? And then things started going through my head. I was angry, and then I tried to make an explanation for it. And like you said, Dawkins, it's really just personal, because Klinsmann has been known to favor German players and German talent. And with Julian Green being half German, half American, making the team for no specific reason, and then picking a lot of players from German leagues as opposed to MLS and Mexican leagues, that's definite favoritism. And when he goes and he says, oh, well, if you're not going to be a team player, then you're not on the team. But at the same time, Donovan is probably the best team captain that a team like this can have because he has veteran experience and he's going to talk the truth a lot of the times. Recently, he actually just did an interview talking about Julian Green and saying that everyone needs to calm down because just a couple years ago we were Donovan, and what happened to that dude, So he speaks the truth, and I feel like a lot of young players on this squad are just going to go out and fuck this up because I don't understand how you can. Oh my gosh, I want to come out clear. I want to be very, very clear because I don't want to just yell. I don't want to just make nonsense and ridiculous statements. But this is probably one of the stupidest things that I have ever heard in my life. Because how can you possibly make a case, as you said, Dawkins, that anyone else in this team is better than Landon Donovan besides Dempsey? Altidore plays, yes, Tox, you mentioned it. He played as a lone striker up front for Sunderland. But actually, he lost his job at Sunderland, and Sunderland was a team that was actually fighting to stay in the Barclays Premier League. There was a lot of time when they were actually going to get relegated. So I don't really understand how Josie Altidore, somebody who hasn't performed very well recently, toward the end of the campaign, decided to play a little bit better. So I don't understand how he's making it. And it's like when you think about the people that we're going up against, and you think about the teams that we're going to be playing against, these are the best players in the world. These are the best players in the world, and you're putting somebody up there who is not physical, like Josie Altidore. You're putting somebody up there who doesn't have that much playmaking ability in the midfield in Beckerman and Bradley. They're basically there for center defensive mids, all right? So we don't have a playmaker in there, and logically, what you would think you would do is you would put Dempsey as that center mid. You put Dempsey as that center mid because a lot of times when he was actually playing for Fulham and when he was playing for Tottenham a little bit, they put him in that center mid, and he was actually able to play really well there, And then you can have Donovan on the wing, and you can have, I would even take Wondolowski ahead of Josie Altidore. You have Wando up there, and then maybe you have. I don't get it, and we waited 4 years. We waited 4 years for this. This isn't the same thing. It doesn't. Okay. What's so puzzling to me is we get one shot. We get one shot every 4 years. It's not like this is a Super Bowl and it happens like every year. It's not like you can throw out, you can throw like a rookie team out there and say, okay, well at least you get the experience. What kind of bullshit is that?
That's what England is doing.
You're going up against Ghana, who we have only tied against. We haven't beat. This is it. This is where you take your best players and you throw them together. And looking at the last World Cup, Donovan and Dempsey actually had a lot of chemistry, So to say that taking one of those guys out, if I were Dempsey right now, I'd be freaking pissed, Dempsey's getting older in age. And now he's back in the MLS just because of his lack of ability, I guess you could say. He's kind of at the end of his prime. So I bet he's freaking pissed. Tim Howard this is probably his last World Cup. He's pissed, because they want to go out with a bang. They want to have those three guys together all at once. But really, this is going to be bad. This is going to be very, very bad. Their defenders are trash. When you think of Omar Gonzalez, who makes a ton of mistakes for the Galaxy all the time, you think of Fabian Johnson possibly being a left back or a right back. That's craziness. All he has is speed. And you think that we'll have no one to contest headers in the box. So really, we're in deep, deep shit. The only possibility that we could possibly have going in the World Cup for us is scoring goals. And you took away one of the best scorers that the United States has ever played with, somebody who scored a ton of goals for the LA Galaxy last year, even though he didn't take as much shots as the forward, Robbie Keane, but he still was able to score only 3 less than Robbie Keane, who was actually playing striker, plus the matter that Lon Donovan didn't even play the whole season for the LA Galaxy, plus he went on a hiatus and he's still kicking ass. So you're thinking that all of this put together does not make sense why you would leave one of the best players to ever play this game, one of the people that have really brought eyes. Doesn't make sense. But that's all I'm going to say about that. What do you guys think?
But do you really feel like the United States with Donovan has a legitimate chance to win the whole World Cup?
Win the whole World Cup? No. But we have a chance to get out of the group stage. Now we have no chance.
Yeah, see, and I think that's my problem with it is I care because, I've watched Donovan play for a long time. I care because I feel like he's earned a chance to at least finish his career in the World Cup if this is going to be his last time going. You know what I mean? Because he is 32, you know what I mean? So it would have been, nice to see him go out in this setting instead of being cut and left off the team. But the reason why I have a hard time caring and why, when I listen to people on ESPN and it's like, oh, well, these people are younger and they might have more potential. It's like you have 4 years in between the World Cup. Can't you, can't you work out who has potential and who actually is good enough to be on the team? You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I don't understand it. I don't see it as a good move because just because they're younger doesn't mean that they're better. And again, there's 4 years in between the World Cup. I would want to see the best players represent a country or team or whatever to go out there and battle. Because regardless if I feel like the United States has a legitimate chance to win, I want to see the best players out there. I don't want to see some guy that, oh, well, let's see what he can do now. No, you've had 4 years to see what he can do. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, and like you said, it's not like traditional sports where you have rebuilding teams. You know what I mean? Like the Warriors went through a rebuilding process and they drafted Curry, and now they're pretty good. It's not like that, in World Cup soccer, or in the Olympics. The best players are supposed to make the team. There's not supposed to be any favoritism. I know that we're imperfect and stuff like that, but still, Landon Donovan, in my opinion, has done enough to have one last chance to do his thing in the World Cup.
Yeah, I feel he does deserve it. I mean, a spot, but at the same time, though, too, it's more or less having a cohesive team, too. It's not always, since it is a World Cup, and there's 11 players that play on the field, like such as in baseball, you got to have a whole full cohesive team, and so it's all about the chemistry.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the chemistry. I'm talking about how it doesn't you try to put the players that may not be the best at their or that may not be the best, but at the same time, though, you got to make sure that they can play well together and everything like that. And so,
how do we know that? We've had different lineups for the whole qualifying, and so
that's what we got to do is we got to continue to trust the coach
trust the coach. Oh my God!
All right, calm down. I see where Tox is coming from, but ultimately, I do agree with Livin just because you can't. I mean, to me, chemistry is a big deal. I'm not going to say, oh, chemistry isn't a big deal. But you have to go out there and play. And I want the best players to be on the field. I could care less about chemistry. I could care less if Kobe and Shaq ain't getting along. They about to take me to 5 championship games, and we're going to win 3 out of 5 or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like that's what I would want as a fan. I don't have time to trust the coach when we might not get another shot for 4 years. You know what I mean? So that's just where I'm coming from. But again, Tox, I do agree with you because chemistry is a big deal. And maybe these players feel like Donovan didn't deserve a shot, but that to me that would be far-fetched. I believe everybody would want Donovan on the team.
Yeah, and like I was saying, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Tox. Chemistry is a big thing, but and I really want to trust the coach, but it's hard for me to trust the coach when he makes stupid moves like this.
Well, it's England. England, they're bringing a whole young team. Not so they've already pretty much had kind of said that they were going to throw in the towel and bring as many of the young players, future players that they can, because a lot of their old players like Steven Gerrard and everything like that, they're getting old and they're not going to be able to be in the World Cup, Lampard and things like that.
Sure.
Okay, well then, but then you also get rid of Dempsey if that's the argument, and you also can get rid of Tim Howard. I'm not like you're not gonna have Howard in the net because he's getting old and this probably gonna be his last World Cup. That's the same argument there, but it's like England. If England wants to throw away the World Cup, I don't believe that as a situation. You know what I mean? Like why would you wait 4 years just to throw it away?
Exactly, and it's kind of hard to compare that because England, as opposed to the United States, have an abundance of young talent.
That's a good point too.
And with like their young players are people like Ashley Young, you know, who would dog everyone on the whole United States squad if it was like one versus the whole team, you know. So to say that they're throwing in like the towel, throwing a bunch of young players there, it's kind of hard to compare. You know, it's like Beckerman versus somebody like who was that, Jack Wilshere or something. You know, I mean it's not really comparable. But I do.
Well, we did from the last World Cup have a lot of young MLS players from the last one as well too. So I mean, you can't just discount that, and the previous ones as well too. So I mean, it hasn't been always full focus. Our U.S. national teams that have done well have not always been full focus on European players. So that's another aspect of it. Is I mean, the majority of the team is still MLS players, and so with that, we can still kind of have that as a tool that's saying that we're not going to back down as a whole, I guess, soccer federation compared to like in England and everything like that still, or compared to a Spain team, which a lot of their players are getting old too. And then it's just more or less the times are changing and we're kind of move over to the next generation of players. And that's what a lot of the focus is right now is this World Cup is more of a transition from a lot of the older players that we've grown up to see and know and everything like that, and transitioning more to a younger, more fast-paced, and new generation of soccer players. And so that's kind of like, I think what a lot of people are having a hard time grasping is that transition from the younger players to the older players and everything like that, and having that balance of a cohesive team, because we know the United States used to always be about just defense, punch in the box, keep everything there, and then pray for Landon Donovan or somebody like that to make a goal or to make a goal out of anything that may arise. And so because we're moving to these younger players, we're trying to have that focus of that mentality of we can play with anybody on the field and we can make our own chances and everything like that. And so I think that's where Jurgen Klinsmann is coming from, is more or less he's picking the players where he thinks that we'll have the confidence to be able to do that and not just pack in the box and just pray and hope that we get a goal later on in the game or something like that. So because it's more or less a strategy based for us at picking the players because for us going against like the big name teams, big country teams, we have to choose matchups against them, and so having all these different types of players, like these types of young players, I think Jurgen Klinsmann has put a point there that he thinks managing similar to X's and O's of the game is going to help the United States move forward, because we have, like I said, we have the poacher and Wondolowski, we have a player that can move the ball with his feet, and Johansson, we have the old experience and veteran in Dempsey and everything like that. And Bradley, when they've changed the formation to a diamond 4-4-2 in the midfield, and where he could play more offensively, he actually did really well, especially when they did that in Mexico. Even though the United States tied Mexico 2-2, he was able to score a goal and as well as create more chances for the United States on the offensive end. So he can be a playmaker for the United States. It's just more or less for us to be able to continue to play as a whole unit with chemistry and be able to have Jurgen Klinsmann hopefully decide the X's and O's of what our players' X factors will be for against each opposition we face against, such as Ghana.
Man, you are reaching for straws, my friend. You really are. I mean, you have a lot of points there. You have a lot of points. And as you were saying that, I was looking over the roster. And I mean, you have a lot of points. But yeah, man. I mean,
because our best players, if we would have put every single of our best players, they would not be able to fully. We can't guarantee that they would all be able to fully have the same chemistry and as well as the same time be able to put the. They would most likely have to do the pack the box and then just pray for a miracle later on in the game. That's what I see it as if we were to do that.
okay. Okay. I mean, but isn't that what the friendlies were for early on in the qualifying, or the qualifiers versus like Jamaica? Wasn't that the time when we threw out young players and we should have done that instead of trying to do a different lineup for every single game and then not rewarding the people that busted their butt to get us to the World Cup and then bringing in this new guy, all of these new guys that never even played together before? Like, if you talk about chemistry, well, they never played together. So how is it possible to have chemistry if you never played together? And when you're playing for someone who cut somebody as legendary as Landon Donovan, and you cut out Maurice Adu, who was probably the best guy to help Michael Bradley in that midfield, and it's hard it's just hard for me to get on board with this because, again, as I said before, the road to the World Cup is made so you can build cohesion. When you look at the teams that have been consistent through the World Cup, you look at Brazil, you look at Germany, you look at France, you look at Spain, you look at all these teams, they're all consistent because you always know who's gonna be out there. Like, obviously there are those rotating doors, but you know that, okay, you know what? If I'm going up against Italy, Balotelli's up front, and if I'm going up against England, Rooney's there. So there are players there that are staples, and it's hard for me to say, okay, you know what, Klinsmann knows what he's doing, because as we have been saying, this happens every 4 years. You get one chance, and he's throwing out a bunch of rookies hoping for a miracle, and it just does not make sense. It does not make really, if I were Cristiano Ronaldo right now, I'd be licking my chops. Because it's like, all right, you know what, the U.S. just threw in the towel. So as a soccer fan, I am mad. As a United States fan, I am mad. But at the same time, I am hopeful that maybe, possibly, we can do something. But, again, every time that I get hopeful, I look at the roster, and I'm like, okay, so who can we possibly rely on in the midfield to create some chances? Who's going to be that guy in the midfield that's going to help us out, that's going to distribute the ball to Wondolowski, to Dempsey, to Altidore, to Johansson. And look
Bradley,
at him.
if we switch to that diamond formation.
But if you go to Bradley, then who's going to be the holding mid? You don't really have anyone like that. And who are you going to put a Beckerman? Are you serious? Come on, man. Let's be honest.
That's what the X's and the O's is coming from. So then you can use substitution. If something's not working out, you can sub them out and put in somebody else. That's what you have there, the whole roster there.
But
and players that can play in multiple positions too.
I don't know.
We're talking about the World Cup though.
Mm-hmm.
That's just where I'm coming from. So to say, well, if this doesn't work out, we can just sub this guy in. It's like, well, then you're gonna have to do that throughout the whole World Cup. You know what I mean? It's like, can we count on the people who are on the bench, count on the players that are going to get subbed in, that they can actually come in and make a difference when they're going to be going up against other countries that are better at soccer collectively than the United States, that have deeper, talent, a deeper bench, so to speak, and can the United States compete? Because, talking about potential, talking about, different formations and stuff like that, that's all well and good, but when, it's time to put up points, when it's time to defend, can we do that versus, more quality opponents than, Mexico in the friendly? Because I don't know Mexico's roster, but I did watch the game, but it didn't look like that was Mexico's best team out there. You know what I mean? So, again, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it will be interesting, and I'm sure we'll all be tuning into it
Mm-hmm.
and cheering on the United States. And as much, and as I said, as frustrated and as mad as I am on this day, as it will live in infamy as the day that we lost the World Cup and just doing this out. As much as I am mad, I am also as excited as always to watch the World Cup, and it will be exciting. But let's move on. So, um, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching again, and just leave comments down below. Let us know what you thought about the World Cup. But let's move on to the NBA. We're going to talk about Mark Cuban. He's got a line with his comments. It's weird because that's kind of what I said a couple weeks ago. So maybe he's watching the show. What up, dog? And we also going to talk about the NBA playoffs. But let's start with Mark Cuban. If you don't know, he did an interview, and basically he came out and said what we've kind of been talking about on this show, that racism is still very, very much alive in the United States. And it's kind of, before we get into this, and I want both of your opinions on this, but before we get into this, I want to say that it's so funny how people analysis change from Donald Sterling and how defensive they are with Mark Cuban. But anyway, let's start off with you, Dawkins. What do you think about his comments?
Well, for me, it's not so much he came to Donald Sterling's defense. To me, it's more so he told the truth. He told how he truly feels, and you have to respect the man who does that. You know what I mean? Now, the one comment that a lot of people had an issue was when he was talking about the black guy in the hoodie, because a lot of people went back to Trayvon Martin. And of course, he did come out and he later did apologize to the Trayvon Martin family. He wasn't trying to be insensitive. He was just trying to use an example. Now, I've been in situations growing up in Oakland at night when I was walking home. If people did look a certain way, I would, kind of look over my shoulder. Is that wrong? You know what I mean? Is that something wrong? If like Mark Cuban was saying, everybody, some way or form fits a stereotype. If you have a black guy who wears a suit all the time, you might call him whitewashed. You know what I mean?
Oh, there it is.
You know what I mean? He's a Uncle Tom. You know what I mean? But what Mark Cuban was saying is that a lot of people fit this profile, but where he is wrong is that you can think those things, and you can cross the side of the, and you can cross the street if you feel uncomfortable. That's all well and good. What Donald Sterling said isn't any of those things. What Donald Sterling said was straight up racism. Straight up racism. Thinking that this person looks sketchy, thinking that this person might harm you because of how he looks, that's a feeling that you have. And you have that feeling for what you have experienced in life. You know what I mean? But no shape or form does Mark Cuban tell Monte Ellis not to wear a hoodie to practice. You know what I mean? No way, shape, or form is he telling Vince Carter to shave his beard or anything like that. So to me, it's a little bit different than Donald Sterling, because Donald Sterling doesn't allow black tenants in his apartment building. You know what I mean? Then he said these comments basically telling the person that he was trying to screw, yeah, if you want to do black people, that's cool. Just don't take pictures with them. Why you guys sit by him and stuff like that? That's totally different, especially when you're talking about Magic Johnson. Last time I checked, Magic Johnson not wearing a hoodie. He doesn't look like a gangbanger, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So to me, it's a little bit different, and plus he's had a long line of these things, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, again, Mark Cuban, what he said, I have no problem with what Mark Cuban said, because that's how he truly feels. And to me, there's no racism in that. Because you also talk about a white guy with tattoos and a shaved head. Is that racism? No. Was he talking about the typical black person? No, he was talking about a black person wearing a hoodie at night. That fits a certain criteria. To me, I was not offended because he's not talking about me, because I don't wear hoodies at night. I ain't trying to get... He ain't talking about me. He ain't talking about me. There's certain people in this world that, yeah, I'm going to shave my head and I'm going to get a lot of tattoos, but then you look like a certain type of person. You look like a certain type of person. You know what I mean? So if you're going to look that way, then to a lot of people, that's who you are. How you dress makes who you are. You are supposed to be presentable at in some type of form or fashion, it's supposed to be presentable. If you wear sweatpants every single day in a dingy shirt, I'm gonna think that you don't have a job. Is that racist? Is that racist? You know what I mean?
No.
So again, if you look at African Americans, but whether it's in music videos or maybe it's being depicted in films and stuff like that or TV, most of the time the gangbangers are wearing what? Hoodies.
And FUBU.
I see where he's coming from. I'm glad that he apologized to the Trayvon Martin family. You know what I mean? Because that to me was totally different. What happened to Trayvon Martin is totally different than what Mark Cuban is talking about. He's talking about crossing the street if you feel uncomfortable. There's nothing wrong with that. People need to get over themselves.
Faux show.
Yeah.
Tox, what do you think about this?
I think I agree with a lot of what Dawkins was saying, and as well as just because we do have still, and I believe in all of us, have a little minor prejudices of some things, especially of some situations, especially like when reserved about minorities driving red cars. Like we have that pretty much the depiction of that. People that being pulled over are going to be pulled over by the cops.
Yeah, that's true.
Because of that. So, I mean, and as well as some of the southern states still have prejudices of some of the minorities, such as down in Louisiana, Mississippi area, and then as well as Texas with the Latino community. And, of course, we see that with Arizona going on. And we're still seeing, like, a lot of this still going on in our worlds, and so a lot of it's kind of hidden, underlined, and not always in like full out black and white, more or less in the gray areas where they try to hide it politically, or they try to hide it like I guess we could say in Sterling's situation where he thought he was talking in confidence and not being recorded and things like that. But I mean, at the same time though, there's no place for that type of stuff. And as well as what Cuban. He was just, I feel, was saying what a lot of us are still feeling in some respect towards people, whether they're dressed a certain way or whether they drive a certain vehicle or whether they, I guess you could say, whether they have a certain different type of skin. I mean, there's still people out there that have all these different types of prejudices, and it's not just really fully about the racism part, it's about the prejudice part, and more or less for us to kind of look ourselves in the mirror and reflect more on, are we going to continue to be prejudiced, which fuels racism, or are we going to kind of, I guess, take a step back and like take a step back and kind of like reflect on how we think. And
now is not the time, Scott.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, man.
We do have a comment.
Oh, okay, read it.
From my man Andrew. He says, basically, just paraphrasing what he wrote. Everybody is a little bit prejudiced. You know what I mean? And that is true. Everybody is. But again, when we're talking about race, that's something different. You know, if you base it off how somebody dresses, well, you can change how you dress. You can't change the color. You can't change the color of your skin. You know what I mean? But people choose to dress a certain way, and they get put into a certain category. People choose to get tattoos, and they get put into a certain category. And
hire them off the street if they're wearing all covered in tattoos.
exactly. And there's prejudice throughout the government, throughout sports teams. There is. You know what I mean? I just feel like, you know, when Mark Cuban make these comments, I feel like people think he's coming to Donald Sterling's aid, and to me, that's not really the case, because to me, this isn't helping Donald Sterling at all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Got anything that you got to say, or you just gonna be
Peter Griffin?
Yeah, I know, right?
All right. It has been a day, guys. Sorry, I'm still mad about the whole Klinsman thing. All right.
Gotta let that go, dog.
I do, but man, but it's like every 4. Okay, so anyway, um, this is what I will say about this. Um, yeah, I'm kind of on the same wavelength as you guys. I don't think that he's coming to the defense of Donald Sterling, but I think that he's kind of explaining that we've kind of been talking about on this show, as I said in the opening of this topic, that racism still definitely exists in every one of us, and it was very evident the other day when I went to a Denny's and my friend worked there, and this big group of people came in. All right. And and they decided, and they were really loud and stuff. And uh, me and my friends, we just said, all right, let's just. Get... So we left, and it turned out that they actually walked down the bill and made a huge scene. So yes, there are stereotypes that exist in this world, and I mean, we have to also think that stereotypes exist in this world for a reason, and it's unfortunate that they exist, but they do exist. And as Dawkins says, as Dawkins said, like we have, it's our job as minorities, and we're all minorities here. I think I don't think that I'm white, but I'm not sure. So we're all minorities here, and it's our job to try to break those stereotypes. It's going to be hard, but what we're really doing is we're hurting ourselves by playing into them. And when you look at hip hop, and you look at like for example, like 16 and Pregnant, like literally that's playing into the stereotype that you're gonna be pregnant, you're gonna have kids, and and this new, like, okay, so over here we have a rap station, 93.3 or whatever it's called, whatever it is. And every time, I always go to that station, I'm always expecting to hear something cool, something that just catches my ear, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's that new Jay-Z shit. But it's not. It's always some shit. It's always some shitty music, and it's like, okay. And then I go and I look at the music video, and guess what it is? It's a bunch of booty shaking. It's a bunch of throwing money in the air. It's a bunch of, man, I love them strippers, Mm-hmm. So it's unfortunate, but it's just how it is,
Yeah. All mainstream. Just gotta move to that underground stuff, man. More meanings.
Ain't that the truth, my friend? All right. Awesome. Oh. Okay, so Scott just wrote, hey, you don't invite me to the hangout anymore? I didn't know you were coming, man. I thought you were busy this week.
Yeah, I thought you said for the next 2 weeks you were busy.
Yeah, that's what he said.
I don't know. But yeah, man, sorry about that. Okay.
This guy.
This guy.
That guy. But yeah, man, sorry about that. I didn't know. But we have one more topic to talk about, you guys. And again, leave comments down below. Dawkins, if you'll be monitoring the comments.
Yeah.
But let's move on to our last topic of the day, which is the NBA playoffs. We're going to quickly recap both of the series. Let's start with the East, and let's start with possible upset, maybe the Miami Heat and the Indiana Pacers. We all saw this one coming, and it is as exciting as we had hoped at some points.
Yeah, very exciting.
Did I cut out? Did you guys hear what I said?
Yeah, you cut out.
Yeah, we heard you say a little bit, but
Okay, well, basically, just let's just recap on the Indiana Pacers and the Miami Heat series. We thought it was going to be exciting. It's exciting at some points. So, what do you guys think about it?
I like the series. I mean, I like the series so far. I think Lance Stevenson is playing outside of his body right now, but the Heat are still the Heat, and now they're going home for a 2-game stand. And I think it's going to be very crucial for the Pacers to win one in Miami. It's going to be very important for them to do that. And if they can't do that, they take home court back, and then this series will be on pace for a 7th game, and that's what Indiana wanted. They wanted the 7th game to be in Indiana, so they can win the series. And if they can get that, then hopefully they can, dethrone the Heat. But if they can't, then it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I love the series so far. It's very evenly matched. Both games have been pretty close. The first game kind of got away from Miami, but for the most part, it's been competitive, and that's what you want this late in the basketball season.
Yeah, I hope it stays competitive in this series because we do know that Indiana does have a tendency from time to time to drop the ball on a game and lay an egg, and hopefully they don't do that because they have said that they have the motivation, that this is what they've been wanting, this series matchup against Miami and since last playoffs, and so they're still reeling from that. And as well as too, we got to kind of keep an eye on Paul George since he's coming off a concussion. So if he can be able to come back at full steam and not have the concussion fully affect him too much, I think that'll help Indiana. Otherwise, if it's going to be bothering him a lot, then I think Indiana's going to have a little bit of a problem because he is one of their best players, and as well as too, Corey Hibbert, he needs to continue to be an X factor because he is one of the top big men, I guess, you would say, for the East for sure, and so. The East, and so he needs to continue to show us what he's made of, especially against a Miami team with LeBron James, led by LeBron James, and so that's what I'm kind of like looking forward to, is the continuation of a competitive series.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully I don't cut out here, guys. But yeah, I mean, this was an exciting series. I mean, like you said, Stevenson is playing out of his head right now, but eventually those crazy shots he's throwing up are gonna fall out of the rim and not go in.
Nice save.
Nice save. I feel like eventually a shot will go cold. Paul George, and this is something that I talked to you, Dawkins, a little bit on PS4, and if you want to hit me up on PS4, 11.5, right, plug. And it's something I mentioned there, was that Paul George has had quiet nights. Game 1, I think he had a quiet 20 points. Game 2, it was another quiet night for him. Like, he's doing those points, but he's not really elevating himself to that star level yet. I mean, we saw it somewhat in the regular season, but we really need to see that in the playoffs. And unfortunately, I don't know if he can do it, and I don't know if Roy Hibbert has enough to be consistent as he's been in the first 2 games over the whole series. So, I mean, it's like I said, it's exciting. It's what everyone wanted to see, so it's cool that we're seeing it. But Miami has this one easily. No one can stop the best player to ever play the game, and LeBron James, and no one can stop Chris Bosh when he's shooting like freaking Steph Curry out there. So
another thing, when Dwayne Wade can play defense on Paul George, and that allows LeBron James just to roam out there, Miami is pretty hard to beat.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the last topic of the day, which is San Antonio and OKC. OKC hurting right now. They lost by, what was it, like 30 points? Something like that. Game 2. What do you guys think about the series? Does OKC have a shot, or are they done?
I think they have a shot, but again, it's they are missing Ibaka a lot, who was their stopper, and because of that, we do know that Durant doesn't play defense that well, and so that's another thing about it. That's another thing about that series, is that he needs to pick it up on the defensive end, and if in order for him and for OKC to have a chance to come back in this series, to be able to dominate on both ends of the floor. Otherwise, San Antonio, they just have too many weapons, and as well as a better bench against OKC, and the experience as well too. That I think is all of that cumulatively. Is just more an advantage over OKC, and San Antonio, I feel, will win this series. But I mean, if OKC does have any of a chance to make it, it's all on Durant's shoulders to be the leader of that team, and as well as to show them defensively that he's willing to step up and guard, step up and do whatever he can to help the team win.
Why are you so close to the camera?
For reals.
Back this stuff up. But anyways, I totally agree with
My
Tox.
mic's working, guys.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But anyways, I totally agree with Tox. The biggest issue with Oklahoma City, yes, they lost Serge Ibaka, but if Serge Ibaka was there, he'd be in foul trouble the whole game. Because I think that with Serge Ibaka or without Serge Ibaka, the Spurs game plan was getting to the paint and just do their thing. Westbrook, he ain't playing that well of a defense on Tony Parker at all. Kevin Durant doesn't play defense. I think he might be allergic to it because to be 7 feet tall, you should be able to do some things on the defensive end of the court, and he just doesn't do it. So at the end of the day, it comes down to defense. If Oklahoma City wants to win a championship with this starting five, with this lineup, it's going to come down to Westbrook, and it's going to come down to Durant, not scoring points, but playing defense. It's ridiculous how easy the guards and the small forward of the Spurs are getting into the lane. Seems like every single shot, Tony Parker's in the lane, Ginobili's in the lane, Leonard is getting in the lane. And then when you have an unselfish big man like Tim Duncan who's willing to kick the ball back out for easy threes, it doesn't look good. So to me, I don't think Oklahoma City has a chance. I know that they still have 2 games at home, and they can win both games. And the series goes back to San Antonio for Game 6, all tied up at 2, or Game 5, excuse me, all tied up at 2 apiece. But I don't see that happening because if you can't play defense, you're going to be in trouble right now. And this is why, even though I was going for the Warriors because I'm a homer, I really felt like Miami was going to walk away with the East, and I thought the only team that could beat Miami is the Spurs because they play defense. Until OKC dedicates themselves to defense, and I'm not talking about Adams, I'm not talking about Ibaka, I'm not talking about Perkins, I'm talking about the 2 stars. Until, because old man Derek Fisher, when Derek Fisher gets in the game, the last thing he's doing is playing defense. When Caron Butler gets into the game, the last thing he's doing is playing defense. So the 2 young guns, the 2 stars of the team, they need to get in there and start winning their matchups. Not winning the matches on the offensive side, but dominating their matchups they want a chance. Because to me, Kevin Durant is not better than LeBron James because LeBron James can play defense. LeBron James can guard your point guard, your shooting guard, your small forward, and your power forward, and sometimes he can guard the center. Durant, I don't want him nowhere near the post because he's going to get destroyed only benching 185 pounds. What the hell?
185 pounds and only 7 foot.
I know, man. Goodness.
Yeah. You guys hit the nail right on the head. I have nothing else really to say about this. The only thing that I can say is one thing that I've noticed that OKC does not have is that role player. I think that this is where James Harden, and I know it's been 2 years, okay, but this is where James Harden would have come into play. Green is helping the Spurs tremendously this series, and as well as Leonard. So this is a serious problem. And
brother, Leonard plays defense. Okay.
Yes, but he's good.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's a beast. This team is, to me, the Spurs are transitioning into becoming Leonard's team because he is a flat-out monster. And, of course, the triplets, they're getting older. Manu Ginobili, he really ain't himself. He's not putting up 20 points a game no more. Tim Duncan is still efficient. Tony is still efficient. But Leonard, to me, is that dude, but it starts on the defensive side. You bring back Harden, you got 3 superstars that ain't going to be playing defense, so they ain't going to help him.
What? No, look.
Harden don't play no defense.
They need points.
They don't need points. They need to stop somebody from scoring. Did he cut off? I hope he didn't cut off. That'd be sad. Are you still there, Living? Come on, Living. I know, right? Come on back, Living.
What?
Better than
okay, you're still there, man. All I'm saying is Harden doesn't play defense. Their problem is they can't get enough stops. It doesn't matter how many points. It doesn't matter how many points KD or Westbrook combined for. They can't stop anybody. Because
that was the thing of the Warriors passes. They didn't care about defense. All they would care about was shooting in the pass, and not play defense. And so, I mean, you know how that turned out for them in the past. So, I mean, that's what OKC needs to do is just continue to play or continue to focus on their defensive efforts, and the points will come after that.
Go ahead, Professor Livin. Sorry for cutting you off. Go ahead.
It's okay. I am Professor Livin.
Yes,
and
you are.
this is my sermon.
Uh-huh.
Now, for this, because if you look at the team right now, if you look at Game 2 as well as Game 1, the most points scored were from the two superstars, obviously. But there's a problem because, and it was evident, I think it was at the end of the second quarter, when Tony Parker fired up this crazy three. I think it was Tony Parker. Yeah, he fired up this crazy three, and he made it with the shot clock winding down. I think it was from the corner or something. And then, on the other side, Russell Westbrook runs down the floor and fires up a contested three and misses. And that's the difference right there, is because Westbrook is going to give you his points. They may not be beautiful points, but he's going to give you his points. But he also had a tendency to lose the game for you as the Warriors. He has the Warriors syndrome. He has the Warriors syndrome, meaning that he likes to fire up shots, and if they go in, yay, they win.
That's
but if
different.
they don't go in,
It's totally different.
But if you
Yeah,
add
they moved away from that.
okay, no, they didn't, because that's why they lost to the Clippers.
Their defense is better better than it has been in the past. Their defense has been better than it has been in the past.
What are you talking about? Okay.
The Warriors' defense?
What?
It's been better than it has been in the past.
They got knocked out? Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but they brought it to 7 games, and if
but it's okay.
An actual center playing, it would have been an extra X factor.
That's a good point. That's a good point, man. But you can talk about all these turnovers and all this stuff, right? You can talk about all that. The biggest problem with OKC is their defense. Their defense. Your stars have to play defense if you're not like – no. Bottom line is you have to be able to play defense. The problem with the Warriors, Stephen Curry couldn't play versus Chris Paul. He couldn't stop Chris Paul.
Why are we talking about the Warriors?
You were talking about the Warriors.
Was I? Or was I just using them as an example of how not to win championships?
Okay, so can I use the Warriors as an example too?
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
My goodness. So again, I mean, everybody could play like your Nets, right?
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Anyways, bottom line is you have to be able to play defense. Turnovers are gonna happen, especially when you only have two scorers. OKC only has two scorers. So if you bring back Harden, then yeah, you have another scorer, but you still can't play defense. Who's gonna stop Tony Parker? Nobody. You can put Derek Fisher on Tony Parker? Like who can put on him? So at the end of the day, until these star team or until these players that are stars like Klay Thompson or other players that are predominantly offense start playing defense, none of these teams are going to make it to the finals or have a chance at winning in the finals. You still have to play D.
It would be closer if they had another scorer. You know?
I don't think so because, like you said, shooters go cold. You just said that.
Yes, I did say that. But if you have three shooters,
and Harden did when they did have them, he did.
Yeah, didn't they get swept by Miami? Didn't they get swept by Miami?
Who?
Oklahoma City. When they had Harden and when they had Westbrook and when they had Durant, didn't they get swept?
They were young then.
They didn't play no defense back then neither.
They were young and they were.
And they couldn't play D.
No, because they didn't know what.
Like if they're not going to play D against LeBron James, you got no chance.
They don't play defense. LeBron James and Dwayne Wade play defense. Kobe played defense.
D Wade does not play defense. Come on, man.
He played defense in game 2? He played defense in game 2. So I don't know what the hell you was watching.
I wasn't watching that. I was watching Catfish.
But I know you was, man. MTV got your brain all twisted.
Yeah.
You are Catfish.
Paul George got catfished.
Like you're a professional athlete. You're a grown man, and you're getting whatever. Let's not get into that. So anyway, okay. So we are done with this show. We made it through. Congratulations, guys. Give yourselves a round of applause. All right, another week is gone. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, we will be back here every Thursday, as we are every Thursday at 5:30 Central Time. Okay, we are late today because 5:30 Central Time, and then 6:30 Eastern Time, and then 3:30 Pacific Time. We'll be back here next Thursday. But before we go, we have to end it, as we do every week, with a minute to preach it. So, who wants to go first?
I'll take it. I'm not.
All right, take it in the ass. Let's go. Oh, I need my timer.
Yeah, you do.
I'm not going till you take that statement back. I don't know what the hell wrong with you. We'll be sitting here all day. We'll be sitting there all day.
Come on, man.
Take it back, yeah.
What I
You may know what you said.
oh, the timer thing?
No, before that.
I need to?
No, you need to take it back.
All right. I'm sorry, Docky. I'm sorry.
No, take it back.
I take it back.
No, say Miles does not take it up the butt. That's what you need to say.
Docky, you don't take it up the butt.
No, Dawkins. You approach me as a man. No more nicknames over here. You don't be rubbing my head and calling me Docky.
Docky, not take it up.
No, but for real. Come on, man. Say you're sorry and we can get started.
All right.
All right, here we go. Yeah, man.
Go.
Today, a football topic got taken off of our show because we had to talk about football. Landon Donovan not making the USA team, and I'm a team player, so that's all well and good. But today we were going to talk about the lawsuit versus the NFL when it came to painkillers back in the 80s and early 90s that were given to players that actually got hooked onto it, and they were given to the players illegally. Now, the problem with that is because the players eventually would get hooked on it, but a bigger issue is that the doctors were team doctors, and they did not tell the players how severe the addiction to these pills could be, and they did not tell them the severity of their injuries. Some players were playing with broken legs. Jim McMahon even said that he was playing with the broken neck out there, but didn't even know it because the painkillers were so strong. So the NFL, the best thing for you to do is just to end this lawsuit and pay the retired players whatever they want to make this go away, especially because today's game is all about safety, and you can't even play 2 weeks after you had a concussion. So NFL pay these players to make this lawsuit go away.
You should have said something, man. We could have talked about that.
No, it's not my show.
You should have said something, man.
It's not my show.
Okay, Tox, are you ready?
Yeah. I will. Are you ready? Yeah. All right. Okay, I'm going to talk about the emerging star player for the Cleveland Indians, Michael Brantley. He's actually been a player that's been underrated, and especially for not only for the season, but as well as for fantasy leagues around the universe, and as well as for him to be able to come up. He only had about 10 home runs last year and had a pretty decent batting average. This year so far, he's batting over 300 with 9 home runs, so he's pretty much almost there at his career high, and he's only been in the league for a couple years, so he's a rising, emerging talent for the Cleveland Indians that solely needs a player and a batter who can consistently hit for them in their lineup. And so going forward, maybe they might have found one in Michael Brantley, and maybe they might have a chance for playoffs.
So you didn't talk about your Giants?
Nope. Got to switch it up from time to time, man.
That you do, man. That you do. All right, my turn, I guess. Here we go, and then we're gonna end it because I actually do want to touch on the players suing the NFL, but a different topic. So.
Oh man.
All right, so here we go. So today I'm going to be talking about a movie that comes out tomorrow, which is X-Men: Days of Future Past. And I'm going to be talking about this movie for the sole reason because there are so many sequels nowadays. Spider-Man gets a reboot, Spider-Man 2, Godzilla just coming out and all this stuff. But I think the right technique in making a sequel is a consistent protagonist. And finding the right protagonist. And the X-Men has always had a protagonist that is Hugh Jackman and Wolverine. And I think that is a deciding factor in this series, and that's what people want to go see. But at the same time, what they have done is they have switched in different characters around him. And I think that that ties directly into the World Cup because here is a team that where you would think that they should have a good base, and they just use all these other little players you throw in there. It works, but
No,
they
you
don't
didn't.
get there.
Good
No, you
analogy.
didn't.
Oh my goodness.
No,
Bringing the
you
X-Men
didn't.
into the
No,
discussion.
you didn't.
No, that
No, you didn't. You brought in X-Men to prove your point about Landon Donovan. X-Men. You use X-Men though
yes,
to prove
sir.
your point. So you telling me that Donovan
And
is
Hugh
Wolverine?
Jackman.
Yes, sir.
Donovan is Wolverine.
Yes, sir. But before we go, Dawkins, I want to talk about that, but I don't want to talk about the painkillers as much as I want to talk about the NFL players suing, or ex-NFL players suing for concussions. And I guess we can talk about painkillers as well. But quickly, I want to talk about this because you're right. I did add this onto it. So this is what I want to say, and I want your opinion on this. I feel like they don't really have a suit in some respects, especially with concussions, because you know what you're getting into. And it's the same equivalent as a pitcher suing for receiving multiple Tommy John surgeries. Or a boxer suing for brain damage. It doesn't really make sense to me, but at the same time,
they're covered for the Tommy John surgery. The team pays for it.
Yeah, but that's kind of you get kind of where I'm going with this. So me,
I do, but I don't mean to cut you off, but that lawsuit has already been settled.
And what did they determine?
The players got paid. They got paid very well. I think the average settlement, and there's about 400 players on the settlement, and they all got well over $400,000. I believe it might even be in the millions per player. And to me, that is the right thing to do because the NFL is going to a more safe game. And if you're going to be preaching safety, then you have to pay the players that played back in the day. Because because even with the painkiller thing, the players wanted to play. That's why they took the painkillers. They wanted to play. So you take the painkillers so you don't feel pain and you can go out there and play and perform. With the concussion thing and with the painkiller thing, the doctors did not tell the players how severe it could be if they get another concussion. There's been people who have died because they've had too many concussions. There's been people that have died on the field because they did not get enough rest after a concussion. So to me, the NFL did the right thing because they are preaching safety. So pay these players because it's not like Tommy John surgery. Yes, Tommy John surgery, it's a left arm. Your left arm might not ever be the same afterwards. A boxer, that's different because a boxer chooses to put himself in there. Football, to me, is more of a game, is more of a sport. Boxing, just to me, is fighting and stuff like that. But to me, these players did not get the adequate, I guess, health care for their injuries. They did not get there was not enough research done to tell the players, if you get a concussion, you should sit out for a week. Because the NFL knew this going back to the 80s, going back to the 90s. They knew how severe concussions were, and they didn't tell the players that.
Good point. I guess I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, again, because I totally agree with you. As a football player, you know that you can break your leg on any given play. But the lawsuit more is the NFL knew. But the NFL knew, and they did not tell the players. Just like with the painkillers, the doctors knew that these painkillers could become addicted. But they did not tell the players that. They did not tell the players the severity of their injuries. They would say it's a sprained ankle when it would be a broken ankle and force the player back to go back out and play. So that's why the NFL is getting sued, because they did not tell the players how severe that the injuries are or how severe concussions could be.
Bo show.
That's what I do. Drop knowledge.
Drop it like it's hot, baby.
But did you guys just hear about the 50 U.S. senators sending the NFL request for the Washington Redskins to change their name? Like they sent a petition. Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
And they should change their name. Mm-hmm. I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, you don't see that too often for U.S. senators to get involved like that. So
it's pretty unheard of. What do you say, Professor Living?
All right, words are only words, guys.
It's not. No, man. No, I'm not hearing that.
All right. Well, that's how this is going to end. I'm just kidding, by the way. I think that it should be changed dramatically.
And the easy fix, if they want to keep the not the name, but the heritage of the name, call them the Washington Natives. That'd be a lot different.
Ooh, the Natives.
Yeah, the Washington Natives, and then maybe you can keep the logo as well, because let's be real, the Cleveland Indians logo is a lot more racist than the Redskins logo.
Yeah, but I mean, you think about like even like the Braves, you know, like when they're chanting, they have those
No,
accents. They're like,
it's different. It's different.
that's racist too.
No, it's different because it's a chant. It's a chant. I mean, I'm if I don't know.
And Native Americans do chants.
Yeah,
It's
African Americans. Native Americans do chant.
as it's the same as like the like Chicago Bears stadium, all of a sudden singing like a slavery hymn.
Yeah, but
why?
but why would they at a Bears game? Because it's the Bears. It's
the Bears.
That's a bear.
But kind of because
Their team name is the Bears.
because it's a chant that is associated with.
Is it okay? There's because I asked wifey this because she's part Native American or whatever, and this is what she said. Because I asked her straight up, what about the Florida State Seminoles? What about the Cleveland Indians? What about the Chicago Blackhawks? What about the Atlanta Braves? She said that all those terms, even though Indians is bad, and that might be the next thing to change, all those things are more tribal. So the chant is more tribal, not racist. And again, I believe if Native Americans had a real problem with the chant, then somebody would come forward, I believe. But Redskins, everybody can see the racism behind that. So doing a chant, the Atlanta Braves, they do have that chant. The Florida State Seminoles, they also have that chant. But at the end of the day, you don't see a mascot with a red face. It is a chant. You know what I mean? So it might be a little bit racist. I don't know. I'm fine with the chant. But again, I see where you are coming from, Living, but to me it's two different things.
Faux show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, we'll be back here next Thursday, 6:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 Pacific Central Time,
Yep.
and 3:30 Pacific Time. Leave comments down below. Let us know what you thought about the comments. A big shout out to Hayato Kanzaki. I know that you watch this every single week, man, even though you watch it when you get a chance. So he watches us like 2 a.m. when he gets off of work. So,
and he'd be hitting me up on Twitter. Shout out to you, player.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching, man. You have been one of the most consistent fans that I've ever had.
Yeah, hit me up on Twitter, everybody.
Yeah, follow Dawkins on Twitter, Dawkins 24/7. Follow Tox on Twitter, Seismic1987, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's our year, baby. That's our year. So.
Y'all old folks, 1988, till I die.
All right, yes, but we're out of here. Thank you so much for watching again. Scott, man, I'm sorry. Hit me up. I didn't know that you were available this week.
Yeah, I thought you said the next 2 weeks he was going to be unavailable.
I didn't know. But hey, mistakes happen.
Oh, and check out Twitch, Miles Dawkins 24/7. I'll be live streaming there.
Stop it with your bad self.
I know, right?
Hercules.
Hercules.
www.FreedomNetwork.com. Sign up. Don't be a lame. And that's it.
Don't be a lame, man. They put a lot of work into that. Check it out.